What happens when speed is no longer the difference, but mentality is? Because in modern women's sprinting, milliseconds don't just decide races, they define legacies. And right now, the entire athletics world is quietly building toward one collision: Sha'Carri Richardson versus Melissa Jefferson-Wooden. Two American sprinters, two different stories, two completely different ways of handling pressure, and only one lane at the finish line. But this is not just a rivalry born on the track. This is a rivalry built from expectation, redemption, and the unbearable weight of being called the fastest. Because when you are labeled a prodigy, you don't just run races anymore, you run against perception. And perception can be heavier than any starting block. Chapter 1: The Birth of A Star. Before the rivalry, there was only one name that echoed across stadiums: Sha'Carri Richardson. She didn't just enter sprinting, she exploded into it. Bright hair, loud confidence, and an even louder finish. From the very beginning, she was not built to be quiet. She was built to be seen. Every time she stepped on the track, it felt less like an athlete running, and more like a statement being made. I am here, and I am not afraid of any of you. That energy made her viral. That confidence made her controversial. And that speed made her dangerous. But in elite sport, talent is never enough. Because attention creates pressure, and pressure creates expectation, and expectation creates cracks. Chapter 2: When the world started watching too closely. There is a moment in every athlete's journey when they stop running for themselves and start running for everyone else's expectations. For Sha'Carri Richardson, that moment came fast. Suddenly, every race wasn't just a race, it was a headline. Every step wasn't just performance, it was judgment. And when you are always being watched, even breathing feels like pressure. Hirias. That's where champions are tested, not in victory, but in recovery. Because coming back is harder than arriving, and the sprint world waited to see if she would fade or fight back. Chapter 3: The Quiet Storm. While one side of sprinting was loud, emotional, and media-driven, another force was growing in silence. Melissa Jefferson-Wooden. No viral controversies, no constant spotlight, no dramatic headlines. Just one thing: consistency. She didn't arrive with noise, she arrived with results. Every race slightly sharper, every split slightly cleaner, every finish slightly more controlled. Arm tensor. And in elite sprinting, that kind of athlete is dangerous because they don't warn you before they beat you, they just do it. Chapter 4: Two Paths, One Destiny. And this is where the story changes shape. Because this is no longer about individual success, this is about convergence. Two different sprint philosophies. One built on charisma, pressure, and explosive personality. One built on discipline, silence, and steady improvement. One thrives in chaos, the other thrives in control, and both are now moving toward the same stage. Chapter 5: Why this rivalry feels different. This isn't just who is faster, because at this level, everyone is fast. This is about who handles expectation better, who survives pressure without breaking rhythm, who executes when the world is watching, and Sibian finds. Because in sprinting, the race is 10 seconds, but the pressure before those 10 seconds lasts a lifetime. Chapter 6: When the world expects perfection. For Sha'Carri Richardson, the challenge was never speed, it was sustainability. Because when you are labeled the face of sprinting, every race becomes a test not of ability, but of validation. Serious stone. And validation is a cruel opponent. It doesn't care how fast you've run before, it only cares what you do next. Every false step becomes a headline, every dip in form becomes a debate, every silence becomes speculation. That is not competition anymore, that is psychological endurance. Chapter 7: The Weight of Comebacks. Comebacks are romantic in sports documentaries, but in reality, they are exhausting. Every return demands more than fitness. It demands emotional stability under global attention. And Sha'Carri Richardson has lived through that cycle. Rise, pressure, fall, return, repeat. And every return feels heavier than the last, because the higher you rise, the harder gravity pulls you back down. Chapter 8: The Silent Advantage. While one side of the rivalry dealt with noise, Melissa Jefferson-Wooden was building something different entirely. Silence, not absence. Control, no overexposure. No constant media storm, just training blocks, race execution, and incremental improvement. And in sprinting, that is often more dangerous than fame. Because fame reacts. Silence executes. Arm tensity. And execution does not need attention to be effective, it only needs timing. Chapter 9. The real difference is not speed. If you compare raw speed between elite sprinters, the difference is often invisible to the human eye, hundredths of a second. But what separates champions is not acceleration alone. It is what happens in the mind before the gun fires. Can you block noise? Can you ignore expectation? Can you run your race, not the world's version of it? This is where the rivalry becomes psychological. Because Sha'Carri Richardson carries the weight of expectation, and Melissa Jefferson-Wooden carries the advantage of freedom. Chapter 10. The moment the sport started paying attention. Every rivalry has a turning point. Not always a race. Sometimes it is a pattern, a shift in rankings, a consistent performance gap closing, a rising name refusing to disappear, and suddenly, comparisons begin. Who starts better? Who finishes stronger? Who handles pressure rounds better? And that is when the sport changes its focus. Because now it is no longer about top sprinters. It becomes, who is the real future? Chapter 11. The first true comparison era begins. This is where media narratives start building tension. One athlete is described as explosive, the other as efficient. One dominates attention, the other dominates execution. And fans begin to split. Because every generation in sprinting eventually asks the same question. Is dominance built or inherited? And that question does not get answered in interviews. It gets answered on the track, in lanes, under lights, with everything on the line. The rivalry is no longer theoretical. It is now psychological. Sha'Carri Richardson carries expectation, pressure, and global attention. Melissa Jefferson-Wooden carries momentum, silence, and consistency. Two forces moving in opposite emotional directions, toward the same inevitable collision.